events that are run by in-state organizers.
Yes, he does, and we appreciate it.
Yeah.
It's very, very.
And of course, I know that Tony provides the clocks and the DGT boards.
There are 3
everything.
common clocks that I know of available in the U.S. that all provide increment time controls. One's the DGT North American, the DGT XL, and really all the DGT clocks do. Basically.
And the Chronos does.
And the Chronos does. Oh, and I'm sorry,
Yeah.
there's also the Cytec,
Yeah.
the silver-colored one.
The game time. The game time does too.
Oh,
so
that's right.
It has accumulate.
That's right.
Maybe since these increment rates of play or time controls are becoming more popular nowadays, perhaps we should do something to put the word out, a list of which clocks are the ones capable of doing that and what the settings are.
And it is worth mentioning that the rates of play that they list on the site are only required for norm events.
Correct.
And they also have some time controls on there that do not have increment. So there are still allowed time controls that don't have increment.
Yeah, but those have nothing. If you put a
Right.
delay, you're in violation
Right.
of, unless you get it
Absolutely.
approved.
And that was one of the things we discussed whenever we met with Stuart Rubin in New York.
Yeah, and you mentioned that in the rules meeting, you might want to mention that here as well, about the rates of play issue.
Yeah, when we met, I told Stuart, I sent a letter to, who's that person in the QC, Saban? The
Nick?
secretary, Nick Fox, yeah. I sent him an email saying, look, you have 6 defined rates of play in FIDE, 3 have increments, one of which is 40, 90, 30 additional minutes, 30-second increment from Move 1. And there are 2 others, and then you have 3 rates of play with nothing, no increment. And they have already stated that increment is preferred to nothing at all. So I said, well, certainly, if increment is preferred to nothing at all, then delay must certainly be better than nothing at all. So why not, let's discuss in Istanbul to approve some rates of play that have delay. And Stuart's reply was, number 1, he liked that, but number 2, that he really wanted to go back to the time when they didn't have those 6 defined rates of play. Just whatever minimum it is, without defining specifically what they have to be. So, and of course, for other FIDE events, they're not defined. You just get a minimum. If you have at least 1 player, or if all the players are below 1600, I believe, it can be a game 60 or slower. If 1 player is at least at 2000, then it has to be a game 90. 22, a game 90, and then if, no.
Under
2200.
Under 2200 is 90 minutes.
90
That's
pounds.
over
2200
2200
is
is
2 hours.
Unquote, a master PD,
Correct.
2200.
So that's all. They don't get specific. So use delay is okay, as long as it is gaming in 2 hours if you get at least 1 master. And that's the kind of thing that Stuart wants to go back to. As I was reminded earlier by Saban, Stuart is 1 person in the Tournament Rules and Regulations Commission, and the others may not go along with his ideas, but I think they will.
Stuart is very influential. So,
Yeah.
So, I mean, if basically you have reached some agreement,
Right.
the chances are.
And what I said earlier in the when we were discussing the rules here is that in FIDE it's really better, I think, the way they come about implementing these rules, because the commissions, once they agree to something, the Congress pretty much rubber stamps everything. Whereas here, we're at the mercy of the delegates. And I don't mean that in a bad way, but I mean it's a large number, and that's not the way it works in the Congress. So.
I don't know, maybe this may not help, but if we're trying to move into FIDE traditional time control and that, will this also be influenced nationals at scholastic level? How are we going to move that? Because that's like some children playing 30-minute games, or so how does
Well, not at the national level.
well, some nationals, they are 2 hours, 40 move, and 1 hour, 2 games. So will that be
For the
also
children?
influenced?
You said scholastic?
National.
National Elementary,
It's
elementary,
game
now
2
more
hours.
game 2, period.
Okay.
Yeah, all the spring nationals are gaming 2 hours. The grades is gaming 90. The K1 section of the spring national, or the elementary actually, it is game 90. So they're slow enough.
Okay.
There's no problem there, even if they were to be feeder rated, but they're not.
Okay. The high school?
That will
those
be
are-
one humongous bill to rate the national elementary.
Yeah.
And to rate, and to
With
rate super
2,400
and to rate super nationals?
But it's gonna be 700 players.
Can't afford that.
the best.
And the Euro.
Yeah, no, that is not a problem. The only faster games we have are at the national level, that is. The National Youth Action, that is an action, game 30. The Congress is gaming 2 hours also, though, right? National Chess Congress? The Chess Congress.
Our Congress, the National Chess Congress is a bill tournament, Koisberg tournament.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. But the Congress we had, Youth Congress,
Youth Congress, yeah, that's what I mean,
yes.
yeah.
I forgot, you guys had in San Francisco, what was it, San Francisco?
It wasn't FIDE rated, so.
I know, but still 2 hours?
It's supposed to be 2 hours. I
Yeah.
think they made an exception.
Because they hosted last spring with a record turnout?
Pretty good one, yeah, about 400 players.
We made some exceptions in the younger
The
categories.
younger categories, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, the top sections were game 90, and then down in the K3 levels, it was pretty fast.
But to answer your question, there's not a problem. The race of play are slow enough, but then again, the logistics or the financial aspect of feeder rating those national events, I don't think we're going to go there anytime soon. But that's not for me to say. Any other comments, questions? No? Easy group.
Okay.
Walter, anything to add?
One of the things on our meeting in I was at a meeting in Krakow, Warsaw in April, but they might allow tournaments, especially with youths, younger and or lower rated players, that you can play more than 3 rated games in one day for FIDE. They said all you have to do is limit it to 12 hours of play.
Correct.
So therefore, if you have the game in one, you could have 4 games in a day, and it would then FIDE rating. Because ratings are did go down to 1,000 for FIDE as of August 1st.
Yeah, that is funny. The feeder rules, as I look through the years now, and not that many years since I've been involved, but it used to be that the lowest feeder rating was like 2,200. Then went down to 2,000, 1,800, 16, 200 point increments. Now it's down to 1,000. So the same rules that you're trying to apply, that you applied at the time when all the players were master level players, and now when you want, or when FIDE wants players down to rating of 1,000, it's not going to be the same. You have to make some allowances, some changes.
Stuart mentioned that by having rules for inexperienced players.
Right.
So therefore, they're not used to it. Oh, they touched the rook first. We're not going to, hey, bad boy. You don't want that.
We've done some studies with Mark Glickman, looked at FIDE ratings, basically below 2,200. And certainly below 2,000, and statistically, it's essentially garbage. It's almost it's non-predictive.
Yeah.
By
Completely
those
non-predictive.
darts.
Yeah, it's the scattershot.
Oh, another thing you mentioned for this, we have the World Junior going on.
Yes.
And did you mention it?
No, I didn't.
Conrad Holt is +3 after 6 games.
No?
And Simone Leal is performing way over her rating. She has a 1930-some FIDE rating. After 5 rounds, she was even against 2150 opposition, but she did lose round 6. But she's doing quite well. She was like the 55th seed in women, but she was doing quite well for her rating.
Speaking of FIDE tournaments, don't forget that now you can get blitz FIDE rated. In fact, Mike Reagan and
Savant's hosting a bunch of them.
yeah, and Mike Atkins had the blitz in the Washington International rated.
Yeah, and that was 44 players in about 8 countries and half dozen grandmasters.
Yes.
Just got a Komsky one.
Yes, yep. And Savannah, you do
And there's
something
no
there.
FIDE rating fee.
There's blitz and rapid.
And rapid too, that's correct, yeah.
And there is no FIDE rating fee right now.
Right, here's your chance to get those players. It might be exciting to them, I don't know, but we'll see.
But the same rules almost apply for our quick ratings as they do, is that you have a FIDE rating, regular rating, it'll be your starting point for your blitz and rapid ratings. If you don't have one, then you still need the 3 games first, then the 9 games to finally get up there. But yes, that's how they're converting it.
Right, and I don't know how many players are aware that, of course, before the rules to get a FIDE rating, it's still 9 games, but they needed blocks of 3 games in a given tournament.
The first one.
Now only the first one, and after that, every single game against a FIDE rated player counts. So it's much easier. I know.
Say it again, start over.
You get
Okay.
1 point out of 3.
Yeah, it used to be that all the blocks to get a FIDE rating to build up to the 9 games, they had to be 3 games, at least 3 games.
In a particular event.
Yeah. With the first tournament, you had to get at least 1 point.
No, it used to be that each tournament you'd had to score
No,
1 point for available
That was
points.
No.
Back when it was 2,200, I'm sure the rules have changed.
But now it's only, the only block that must be at least 3 games is the first block. After that can be single games.
To add to your 9.
Yep, to what you're not correct.
Then they look at your average, all the players you played, their ratings. Let's say you scored 3 out of 9. That's 33%. You're 125 points below the average of the players you
No,
played.
wait.
That's your rating.
But a first group of 3, you need 1 point.
You have to have a
But
first
on
point.
your last 6,
You could go 0-4.
all
yeah.
for 6.
Correct.
So you can have one
One win.
point out of 9 rounds.
1 win,
That's
2 draws.
FIDE rating.
Yes.
Get your FIDE rating, but remember, now it goes down to 1,000.
That's all right.
That's for the Swiss roll, there's the round robin.
That's
rules.
correct, that's the Swiss rule, that is correct, thank you.
You really want to get your ratings?
Yeah.
Play the round robin.
Yeah. Yeah, one, if you have a real big tournament like that, or at least strong tournament like Washington just did, the best thing, if it is a Swiss, get 20 foreign players. Then there's no requirement to have
10 titles. So
a
1 point
number
for
of
every-
title.
you need 10 titles. 24 plus 10
Yeah,
IM or higher,
right,
IMWM or higher titles.
correct, yeah.
The 2010 rule.
Yep. And then doesn't matter whether you play foreigns or not, you're still eligible.
It's a super Swiss.
Yep. Anyways, any other comments, questions? Ken?
Well, speaking of that rule, I mean, I
Michael?
know it's been that particular rule you just mentioned of having foreign player requirement for norms, right? And I know it's been there since, Stone Age, but
Right.
it's always obviously very unfair rule for the United States as compared to European countries, where if you are playing from Liechtenstein or whatever, probably has, a lot of opportunities to play foreign players rather than play from the United States. So is there any kind of, work in progress, or at least something, that in the future USCF might find, allies to have that rule changed, or at least?
I don't see that happening.
What's funny is Stuart Rubin in our meeting in New York said the same thing has been said about English chess organizers. They said it's difficult to find foreign players to come into England and play.
Right, it's not
China's the same. China's been having issues with finding enough foreign players to come in and play in their events as well. So, I mean, it seems like it's a common complaint that's not
It
unique
is,
to
yeah.
American players.
Like, look at Australia. I mean,
Right.
Yeah.
I think most complaint was from foreign players to come and play because it lowers their rating, and in their country it's important when they deciding certain team competitions or certain championships. Maybe it would be a good idea to invite those GMs and offer them 1 or 2 days room staying, some kind of support so they would really be motivated to come. I know US prize money, when it's offered in tournaments like, World Open, US Open, it's not always guaranteed, so sometimes it would be 14,000, it might go down 8,000, but then you count their expenses, their time and rating, it's kind of not supporting them. So maybe providing them hotel staying with discount, 1 or 2 nights, or some kind of a privilege, or some kind of a paid simultaneous something, they'll be more motivated to come and play.
Yeah, that's an organizer's issue though. I mean, if you're talking about national events, then that's a different story, but, other events like Bills or, you know, Savants
If
or
they were
whatever.
coming to the United States, hopefully they would be in contact with organizers of several events. And some of those events, perhaps an international round-robin tournament someplace, would be making some accommodations, and they could work out a kind of tour while they're here, you know, come to all the big money national tournaments, as well as playing a couple of FIDE tournaments. That would be ideal.
Right, and a lot of them work the camp circuit and stuff like that.
Yeah,
The
that's,
camp circuit,
yeah.
yeah.
But I know Goichberg has had like Lubomir Kotasnik show up to World Open, and he'll pay him a little bit to have a lecture one morning.
Right. I think almost every private organizer does that for any of their
Yeah.
own events. Savan or NK Gupta or Al Lossoff with the National Open. We do in St. Louis. So I think that happens on most of the private organizers. National events, that's a different question.
But they can at least advertise you.
Right.
So I guess the question back would be, do we need to make that information available someplace to attract more foreign players? And so maybe we could put something together with contact information.
With I can speak for the U.S. Open. Frankly, I don't want to get into that with the U.S. Open.
Okay.
U.S. Open is much more about the U.S. We're not trying to make it more of an international
But
thing.
but
And
the
it's not
point-
something that we're ever going to be able to get enough players.
But
People
that's-
aren't going to have norm opportunities in the U.S. Open. It's just unrealistic to
But
ever
that's
get
not the point. The point is this is a tournament with a good prize. And if somebody's coming over here and they might be working out a schedule where they're doing a camp in California, and then if the U.S. Open is nearby, they might come and play in that. It has a good prize fund, and then they might have a tournament scheduled someplace. So it would make sense to have some kind of a schedule and some kind of a contact list, so if they do want to come, they would be able to make contact with the right people.
Well, it's already on the FIDE calendar, right? Since it's FIDE rated?
Yeah.
Yeah.
New York, for
I imagine
instance,
that's how most of them probably do it. They look at the American events.
The organizers,
But I
I
mean,
mean,
that's a lot of work, right?
Yeah.
at the Washington National, you had Adam Hunt from England and Sabrina, what's the last name? I forgot.
There
The
was-
girlfriend.
There were
But
16 or 17, but it ran into the same problem. It doesn't become a super Swiss, and a few
Yeah.
kids lost norms because of that.
No, but what I was going to say is that Sabrina and Adam went to the Washington National, and then they headed to the West Coast for a camp, and they created more income opportunities to defray the cost of the trip.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether that was suggested by Mike Reagan or whether they had already planned themselves. I don't know.
but like in the summer here, people can come in, play the Marshall, New York International, go to the Philadelphia International, then play the World Open, so they can hit 3 tournaments in one swing.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, they can hit Chicago Open, go
If
to
they come in
National
even
Open. Yeah,
early, if they can get in earlier.
The March through August here in the U.S. I mean, it's unparalleled for
They can stay
European
busy.
players. They can stay busy with all the camps and everything. But I disagree with you, Bill, regarding not making the U.S. Open a norm-capable event. Because what you're going to, hold on, before you shake your head, because what you're going to do is if you bring in and we give conditions to 10 or 15 people, we're going to draw more players, especially those, the young ones that want their norms. And you'll probably see more people from the Denker also would start playing as well. You're talking about.
If you're a 2,300 norm seeker, your first 3 rounds, you play 2,000 and below.
You
You're not going to have
can
a chance.
do accelerated pairings. It is completely legal under FIDE rules to do
So
that.
we-
Show of
could
hands. Show
refer
of
it
hands.
up-
How many people think that's
We could
that's
refer this
something we
to
ought to
the US
focus on
Open
with the U.S.
Commission,
Open?
too.
And I can speak that directly. I played in the 1974, if I may date myself, Canadian Open that had accelerated pairings, and it worked very nicely. Larson Blagojevich, Larry Christensen as a teenager were some of the players in that event, and Ford was there. And the top players started playing each other relatively early in that event, even though it was a U.S. Open or bigger size field. This was during Fishermania. I don't think that's a bad idea.
That was a 12-rounder, wasn't it?
But let me
That was
ask,
11 round.
let me ask this though. That's good for the norm seekers, but what about those grandmasters who are after the money and now all of a sudden they're going to be told that on round 3 they're going to be playing the Grandmaster or whatever. I mean, I don't know.
In the 4-day schedule, they probably are doing that because a lot
Well,
of
then
them
they're
come.
going to do it even sooner.
But some of the grandmasters also cannot afford hotels, so they come 2 or 3 day option and they play those 1-hour games. So chances are for all of them play each other, it's okay. But chances are for them not to play is also possible.
Yeah. What I'm saying is, now you're going to tell them you're going to have a tougher schedule to try to get that prize money.
But
And you're not going to be able to have a
But
prize.
you don't have to have all accelerated. You can have first 3 rounds accelerated, get that point going, and the rest continues sweeps.
and
You could have those.
Well, I think we ought to refer this to the US Open Committee,
Yeah,
so that they can talk about it.
I can tell you real quickly from a business standpoint, though, you may make it a more interesting tournament to a small segment. You're going to financially destroy the tournament, completely financially destroy it.
But also, it's very hard to make norms here in 9 rounds, because if you play 2 unrated players, it's forget it. It's done. You can adjust one rating. You can adjust one rating, and the other guy's going to be 1,000. You can throw your norms. If you're 9 out of 9, you can throw it out the window.
No, it's the prize money, and it's the winner qualifies for the US Championship. That's what's drawing
That'll draw people.
grandmasters, US grandmasters. The foreign grandmasters, if they're here, it's the prize money. So it's not about norms so much.
I mean, the point is, a lot of some U.S. players, they go outside, get the norm, or get experience and exposure. It would be nice to draw those people here, and it would have been a great opportunity too. I mean, it just requires a little bit of discussion and a little bit changing some style. I mean,
But it's also a money issue. We just don't have the money to do a lot of those things.
I think we're talking about 2 different things too. So we can. There's certainly ways that we can encourage more foreign players to come over. We can make it easier for them to get in contact with everybody and set up a schedule so that they can have a successful visit over here and with maximum income opportunity and maximum norm opportunities and prize money. That's a different discussion. Maybe we should talk about that and get a proposal together and see if we can get some kind of clearinghouse or some kind of information out there for them. I'm not sure if that's specific to the US Open though. It's sort of everything.
that's more outreach in nature.
It is,
what that
really.
is.
I also remember the last year, we had a very small turnout, but we had, what, 18 grandmasters? 19 grandmasters. We had the second strongest US Open ever. Now, it was a bad
They have
turnout.
300 some
Don't get me
players.
wrong.
Here we have 515, I think, was the last count.
16.
16.
Just
Michael?
one very quickly, that why I brought this original point up is there is the other side of the coin, right? I mean, there is this obvious issue with, US non-seekings and maximizing their opportunities, and whether they have to go abroad or they can be able to achieve norms here in the United States. But there is also another side to this issue, is that it's a disincentive for people who living in the United States and been living in the United States for a long time to actually become the United States, their federation being the United States. Instead, they would rather stay.
Discourage them, or they're Timor Greek.
They're encouraged to stay with whatever their other federations is, because then they will count as a foreigners, even though they've been maybe, been in the United States for a long time. So I think that's why I think it's maybe worth it. I know it's a very, very long hill to climb just to somehow get the waiver or something about that rule, but at least, that's, the second part of the problem, that's the only way to accomplish it.
One thing I proposed, and it got some support, but I think it ran into roadblocks later, was if they would just allow the ones that had changed federation, at least for a period of time, to count as foreign, which I think seems completely logical, because the whole point is to make sure you don't have a closed pool of just a norm factory. That's what they want to protect against, and so this would definitely, that kind of rule would definitely be within that spirit, but they're not real quick to jump on board with fixing.
I just don't see that
Yeah, I don't see that happening.
happening, yeah. It is after a FIDE title, and it's an international title, you know, Grandmaster IM, whatever the case may be. So I just don't see them bending that. Ken, you have?
Yeah, I was just going to say, in regards to norm opportunities at the US Open, I think what Walter said is really very important. I just get the sense it would be very difficult to make it possible to acquire norms here because of the need, for example, to meet at least 5 title players, the minimum rating requirement.
4 foreigners.
The sheer, well, if you had a super, if it
was
was super
super.
Swiss, I'll assume that it's a super Swiss if you're bringing in
it is.
international players, but still, it's just the sheer number of unrated players
That's
that we
right.
have in the U.S. Open. The fact that it's just one big section, I think makes it very difficult to meet the norm requirements, super
Yeah.
Swiss notwithstanding.
I mean, my kid is at 2300. He has met 1800 to 1900 to 2000.
Right, and so he probably misses out just, if no
Well,
other reason, on
no
title
chance,
players.
of course.
Right, needing 5 out of 9 minimum title players.
Yeah.
The other comment I have, is there any way possible to make a rule or find some volunteers so we can see top 4 boards demonstrated? After all, it would be very interesting not to be hovering over their shoulders, but be able to show
They're
their
being
hands.
projected on the hallway.
They're out in the hallway right beside the.
Did I miss that
Yeah.
area?
Let's Skittles room.
Yeah. On the other side, on what?
Go around to the
Yeah.
Skittles in the bookstore and it's in the hall.
Yeah, they're projecting 4.
Oh.
It was 6 last I
Six.
saw.
Sorry,
Okay.
I missed that. I'm like, where did the
Okay,
board?
well now you know.
Okay. I'll look for it. I went to the bookstore, but not that.
Yeah, go on down to the it's projected there.
You
on
gotta
the wall.
turn right.
Turn right down that hallway. Instead of the left to the bookstore, turn right.
And last night they had quite a crowd there.
Yeah. Any other questions?